Full lips. Look at a chimpanzee, now a gorilla, now any other primate on the planet. None of them have lips like you do. Humans are the only primates with averted, blood-red lips that turn the mouth inside out and put the wet tissue on display. Every other ape has thin, flat, skin-covered lips. We're the outlier. We evolved to make our mouths impossible to ignore. The cosmetics industry figured this out long before the scientists did. The global lipstick market hit $17 billion in 2024, all of it spent amplifying one signal: redder, fuller, higher contrast lips. An older-than-language trick sold back to you at a markup. Full lips broadcast estrogen, pumped-up tissue, healthy color, visible from across a clearing. When estrogen drops, in menopause or chronic illness, lips thin within months. So the brain started reading fullness as a shortcut for young, healthy, fertile. West African populations, in hot, densely populated regions, carry the fullest lips on the planet, on average. If you have full lips, you have the fertility broadcast blueprint. Put a full-lipped baby on a delayed flight and watch the tired businessman smile against his will. There's a price tag. Full-lipped faces score lower on perceived dominance. Fertility loud, authority quiet. The same mouth that wins attention in a bar loses ground in a boardroom, and the shape that does win that boardroom is the one almost nobody envies. Thin lips. Press your lips together. Pull them tight against your teeth. Hold it. That face is harder to read than your normal one. That's part of the evolutionary point. The other part is colder. Thin lips show up most in populations that spent thousands of years in cold climates. East Asian and Northern European groups carry the thinnest lips on the planet. Less exposed mucous tissue means less heat loss and lower frostbite risk. Cold sculpted the face down to its essentials. The communication side mattered too. Less surface, less twitch, less leak. The hunter who didn't flinch when the boar charged. The chief who heard bad news without his face giving it away. If you have thin lips, you have the Stoic blueprint. That was your ancestor on the steppes 20,000 years ago. The one who heard the camp had been raided and didn't move a muscle until everyone else stopped panicking, then quietly told them what to do. Researchers adjusting only lip thickness on otherwise identical faces found it every time. Thinner lips, more authority. Think Clint Eastwood, not George Clooney. Here's where the industry plays a different game. With full lips, it amplifies what's already there. With thin lips, it tells you the shape is wrong and sells you the fix. The volume goes in, the seriousness leaks out. Which raises the obvious question: what does the most attractive mouth on earth actually look like? Bottom-heavy lips. In 2017, JAMA researchers settled the argument. They built 100 faces with adjusted lips and had 150 raters rank them. One proportion won cleanly. Upper lip half the size of the lower. A 1-to-2 ratio. The same shape most natural lips already have before anyone touches them. A separate cross-cultural study found the preference holds well beyond Western faces. Why this shape wins evolutionarily? Lower lip volume tracks estrogen more reliably across a woman's reproductive years than upper lip volume does. It peaks later, holds longer, lies less about age. Mediterranean and East African populations carry the ratio at high frequency. If you have bottom-heavy lips, you have the universal attraction blueprint, the face-casting directors fight over, that strangers smile at without deciding to. Warmth and authority don't share a room easily. Now flip that winning ratio upside down, and you get the one shape evolution quietly turned its back on. Top-heavy lips. This is the only lip shape evolution actively disprefers. The same JAMA raters who crowned the 1-to-2 ratio ranked its mirror image, the 2-to-1, dead last. There's a narrow case for it. The upper lip does most of the speech work, shapes consonants, moves more during talking. A fuller upper lip makes that motion easier to read at distance, in firelight, across a noisy camp. Lip reading from 20 feet away mattered, when survival depended on silent coordination during a hunt. But that's a narrow advantage against a universal preference. The shape that helps you be understood, across a clearing lost, to the shape that signals fertility up close. If you have this shape, you have the rare signal blueprint, memorable in a way that pulls attention without anyone quite knowing why. So far, this has been about volume. The next two ignore volume entirely. Upturned lips. The face that always looks like it just heard something amusing. Mouth corners up a few millimeters at rest. Nothing happening underneath, just the geometry. NYU and Princeton researchers built face models and ran them through thousands of trustworthiness ratings. Upturned mouth corners came out as one of the strongest predictors of perceived trust on the entire face. Stronger than eye shape, stronger than jaw width. The brain reads a slight upward curl as a leftover smile, and smiles signal safety in every culture studied. Infants prefer upturned faces within months of birth. They came preloaded. If you have upturned lips, you have the first contact blueprint. In ancestral bands of 30 to 50 people, surrounded by others who might be hostile, someone had to walk out and meet strangers first. That was the face strangers trusted on sight, the one sent to negotiate when two tribes met. Groups with that face survived first encounters. Groups without it sometimes didn't. Underestimation runs the other way. Naturally upturned mouths score lower on perceived dominance. Tilt those same corners down, and the entire reading flips. Downturned lips. The neutral face that strangers keep asking, "Are you okay?" The actual answer is yes. The same NYU work that linked upturned mouths to trust found downturned mouths predicted higher dominance and lower warmth. A slight downward curl gets read as vigilance, displeasure, authority. If you have downturned lips, you have the guardian blueprint. Every ancient group needed both faces. The upturned mouth made first contact. The downturned mouth stood guard, watched the perimeter at night, decided who got fed first when food ran low. Those weren't the warm jobs. Military leadership ratings, courtroom outcomes, CEO impression scores all show the same pattern. Serious, resting faces rate higher on competence and command. Wall Street, surgery, the bench, one more layer. Lip shape isn't always pure genetics. Long-term grief and chronic stress can pull mouth corners down over time. Sometimes a downturned mouth is structural, sometimes it's a record of what someone has carried, and one shape carries a different record entirely, written not in stress, but in genes. Heart-shaped lips. Researchers measured thousands of faces against childhood medical records. The faces with the most symmetric mouths had the lowest rates of childhood infection and developmental stress. The mouth was telling the truth about the whole body. Heart-shaped lips, with their sharp Cupid's bow, sit at the top of that symmetry tier. So rare that no one has pinned down an exact prevalence, which tells you something on its own. If you have heart-shaped lips, you have the clean copy blueprint. Your developmental wiring stayed precise through every illness and shortage your childhood threw at it. In environments where half of all children died before 5, that meant something real. The sharp border carries its own signal. Lip definition is one of the first things to go with age, as collagen and hyaluronan drain from the tissue. A crisp Cupid's bow at 25 says young and hormonally active without a word. Not all attention is good attention. Heart-shaped lips read as flirtatious, even when the person meant nothing by it. A mouth that looks mid-pout gets misread all day long. One last thing. No other primate has lips like ours. Evolution split the signal into 7 versions, each a different ancient job. The cosmetics industry sells one as correct and the other 6 as problems with a price list attached. They're not problems, they're your inheritance. Your lips decided how the first stranger met you. What the second one remembers is still entirely up to you.